Hello and welcome to the Etoft21sports Show for October 10th. How is everyone doing? My name is Eric. I am the man behind Etoft21sports. We have an absolutely loaded episode for you today. My boy Brandon, aka at Boston Boy 83, is this week's special guest. Brandon and I are going to look back at week 5 of the NFL season, share what bets we are locking in for week 6. And as always, Gino will have his horse racing bet of the day from Keelan this weekend. As always, the Etoft21sports Show is sponsored by Thrive Fantasy. If you're not using Thrive Fantasy, make sure to check it out. Download the Thrive app. Use promo code ETOFT21 for a 100% deposit match up to $250. 3x roll over on that. And always, any day there's an NFL game, I am making Thrive Fantasy videos. Make sure to check that out. Now, let's see what Gino has a cooking for us over at Keelan this weekend.
Those past performances are already out for this weekend at Keeneland, Friday the 13th. Let's take a look at race number 5. I'm looking at those daily racing form past performances, drf.com, for all the past performances, any of your wagering needs. If you sign up for a DRF Bets account, they'll actually give you free past performances. Every time you bet $50, you get credit for a free one. So you won't have to end up, spending money on past performances if you're wagering through DRF Bets. Let's go to the 5th race. We're going to go to the number 11 in here, Equal Protection. So his first 2 starts were on the dirt. Just didn't really fire in those races. In fact, he did face tough company there, Kings Barnes in one of them. Then he tried the turf, and look at how much this horse improved from his 3rd start on. So his last 4 races are all on the grass. He has had legitimate trouble in a couple of them, and he has faced some very, very nice company in those races. You look at the race on March the 3rd at Gulfstream Park, he had legitimate trouble. He was steadied, and he was in a race that came back productive. On April the 13th, he was inside. He got pushed back to 5th. He moved into contention. Things got really tight multiple times as he looked for room. Again, he was right there in a blanket finish. Then on June the 2nd, he came back. He was close up inside into the turn. He had some traffic. I thought he was second best. It was a very good effort that day. And on September the 10th, that was his first start in a few months. Really good effort when finishing 3rd. I think Equal Protection is in a great spot in here. He doesn't even really have to improve all that much to compete with this group, and I think he should be a little fitter. Second start for Maker, second start off the short break. The number 11, Equal Protection, 6-1 on the morning line. If we can get anything over 7-2, 3.5-1, I think that's fair value on him. Good luck on Friday the 13th over at Keeneland.
Make sure to give my boy Gino a follow at It's Me Gino B on X or Twitter, whatever the hell they are calling it now. As always, I am on his podcast every single week talking NFL or college football, college basketball, whatever. Now we're going to bring the man that is on my podcast every single week. Slowly has morphed into a great friend, even though he has shitty taste in professional football teams. Looking forward to talking some football with him, see what the hell's going on with his New England Patriots. Let's welcome Brandon, aka Boston Boy 83, to the show. Brandon, how you doing, my man?
I would say it's good to be here, but after that intro, just here so I don't get fined.
Dude, I'll tell you what, dude.
A little under the weather, but we'll rock through
it. A, you're playing sick. I respect you for that. B, you've hit not 1, not 2, but 3 NASCAR winners in a row, which is absolutely insane to do. Got to give you props for that. Brandon is on my podcast every single week, handing out winners. And then he has his iRacing every single Wednesday night. He just got promoted up a level, which is freaking awesome for him. So make sure to check that out every single Wednesday night. But you know what? We're here to talk some NFL, my man. And before we, jump into everything, Bobby, thank you. But dude, we've known each other for how long? That is manana, my friend. I have one more day of being a young man, then I'm an old fuck. Yeah, birthday show, whatever. Dude, I don't like birthdays, man, because I feel like I'm old. You know what I mean?
Wait, you are.
I do. I'm old as shit, dude. I
so
was
happy
thinking,
birthday, dude. We're good friends. I didn't even realize. So shitty part on me, but
that's okay, dude. I'm never one of those guys to announce it and everything. But
so what is it? 52, 55? Like where we at now?
87. 87, dude.
Cool.
87, dude. You know, I'm amazed. I've lived it. I've made it this far. Jacksonville State, I think they are down to quarterback number 5 right now with how they're dropping. And yes, the Panthers are so bad. Hopefully they weren't on this week's card. So 2 questions for you before we start out. Obviously, with the call line, everyone's seen Boston Boy 83. Brandon is a big Patriots guy. Thoughts?
Mac Jones' era is over. I'll bow down to you. You called it. I thought going into this year, finally getting Bill O'Brien, an actual offensive coordinator, you look at the weapons around him. I was like, he's got good weapons. O-line's not great, but it's not terrible. You got a 2-headed horse in the backfield. I'm like, good D consistently. They've always had that. Bear some injuries recently, but I thought you'd see another side of Mac Jones this year that just has not come out. He's little league, man, throwing the ball across the field, not holding the ball. His receivers are running 3-yard outs when it's 3rd and 4, 4th and 4. It's just nobody believes in him. He's a crybaby, and I'm bowing out saying it's end of era for Mac Jones.
Yeah, I mean, my takeaways are this. Bill's in serious danger, I feel, of losing the locker room unless he makes a switch.
Yes.
Just because you've scored 3 points in 2 weeks. Some of these turnovers are just absolutely putrid. Now, granted, I know they have offensive line injuries, but you got to do something because obviously what's going on isn't working. Stevenson is non-existent.
No.
He is absolutely non-existent. Henry had a little pop, but he's disappeared. Gesicki's like 2 catches a week.
What's terrible to your point, when you say lose the locker room, he's going to lose the defense, which is ultimately the locker room. Because if you go back, and I don't like to play this whole go back, you have 2 opportunities to beat the Eagles. Then you have another 2 opportunities to win in week 2 per the offense that the defense gave them that they could not come through with. And to your point, now you're just getting blown out. The defense is on the field majority of the time. So, yeah. Wild turkey.
No, it's not wild turkey.
Whoever that is, I hate the Lakers 99. That is the best. That's the best gamer tag, Twitter tag there is. So thanks for joining. I love that.
I'm an old man. This is tea. I drink tea now before I go to bed. Used to be whiskey. Now I'm tea. Drinking a little tea on a Tuesday night. Yeah, I mean, lost the defense. Obviously, you know, losing Jordan, losing the rookie Gonzalez was huge to what they're trying to do defensively. But you're right; those guys are going to kind of, I don't want to use the term give less effort, but they're not going to risk it. Obviously, must-win game. Full disclosure, I did bet, and I haven't sent it to you yet. I did lock in the Patriots. I got them at 3.5 against the Raiders. I have to take that bet. Bet. I do have that bet locked in. Now, also, Raj just asked, what's wrong with the Patriots? Just covered it. A lot of stuff's wrong. Offensive line,
everything.
Mac Jones. We had a question here about the Panthers. You're in the Carolinas area. I mean, Frank Wright came out with a comment in a press conference basically saying he didn't want Bryce Young, basically saying that, throwing the owner under the bus. Now they say the owner's like, he's Magic Johnson. We don't need a wide receiver 1. This thing is a complete cluster F. I mean, as an outside observer, they're the worst team in the NFL, and the Bears have their pick.
So I've been down here for 18 years now. It's been that way forever. They cannot figure it out. For a good, 7 years now, they've needed an offensive line. Do they draft him? No. They go elsewhere. They get rid of McCaffrey, who is the golden boy, and they give up their pick. And then you go out and you grab Bryce Young, who did well in college, but is small, tiny, struggling reading the field without locking in on one receiver. And you had CJ Stroud sitting there, and you gave everything up and choose Bryce Young. You're 0-5. You're going to be 0-6.
They play the Dolphins.
Oh, yeah. 0-6 this week. It's a dumpster fire. They can't figure it out. Something is wrong in that offense. The coach even called out, I have weekly meetings with the owner, and after the way that it's been going, I don't like my meetings. Like, he's openly talked about that.
He's done. Like, he's actively done. I mean, I think it's safe to say they're going to go in a different direction. And the thing that stinks though is you're a GM now, and I'm spacing on who the GM is. They're tied to Bryce Young. They're going to be known as the guy that took Bryce Young over, Richardson, if he stays healthy, looks good. Stroud looks phenomenal. We don't know what we have in Will Levis. We don't know what he had in Hayden Hooker. We don't know what they have in other guys.
I'm going to go one step further, though. Sorry. I'm going to go one step further. The fan base does not help this team whatsoever. You look at your Lions, your boys, even when they're 0-5, 2-7, whatever it is, the place is packed out and they're supported one way or another. You go down into Bank of America Stadium every single week, and it's packed out with the opposing team's jerseys. A friend of mine, Monday Night Football, opening night, my neighbor, Saints fan, got tickets to Monday Night Football opening night for $35 a ticket.
Jeez.
I don't give a crap where the seat is. Nosebleed, 50-yard line, $35 a ticket for Monday night opening night in the NFL. That tells you right there, they cannot fill the seats. They can't do it. So I'm also going to go in. If I'm the GM, the players, everything, I'm sitting back saying we got what we got, and we're just going to show up on Sundays. Whatever happens, happens, because we don't even get any support from this city whatsoever. I'm a firm believer in that. You support this team through and through, regardless.
I agree with you 100%. I think you got to have a good fan base. When Cam Newton was there, that place was a rockin'.
Mm-hmm.
I've never really had anyone since Cam. Let's make some money. Brandon, Pats are just tanking to get Williams. Need the game-changing QB for the franchise.
I wouldn't mind that.
But here's the funny thing. Here's the funny thing. When you look at, excuse my language, when you look at the shitty teams, the Patriots are too good.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Bill won't do it.
They're just too good.
Bill will not do it.
They're just way too good for them to be that. They're going to be in that 12 to 15, 16 range. As always, guys, chat room's open. Any questions, gambling questions, DFS questions, whatever, fire away. Brandon and I will do our best to answer them. We've reached a part of the show where we're talking takeaways. Brandon, takeaway number one, what do you got, my man?
Hard for me to say. Really, really hard. Two is for real. If the man stays healthy, the Dolphins will not only win the AFC East, but they will get a bye week going into the playoffs. Them and the Chiefs are just running through the AFC. There's no other teams. I mean, when you look at this, you got Pittsburgh 3-2, Jacksonville 3-2. But the Dolphins, if Tua stays healthy, will continue routing people like they are now, and we'll have a bye going into week 1 of the playoffs. That is my first takeaway.
So I have to give credit where credit is due. McDaniels is making it impossible for Tua to fail.
Yes.
And you know what I mean? He is giving him one to two reads and then a hot read, and that's it.
Yep.
And then boom, anything can kind of go from there. Offensive line, little worried about Armstead. And no one's talking about how A-Chain is hurt now. Did you notice that?
Yes. It's
no
quiet.
One's talking about A-Chain. You're right, though, with how they're looking and the explosive the play calling and how Mike McDaniel's dialing stuff up. They're looking pretty good. They're looking better than I thought they were going to look. Did you see that press conference he did where they said they got most yards within like a 5 game, and he give the point and the look? That was by far hilarious. Second favorite coach in the league. My first takeaway, and it's not because I'm a biased and I'm wearing the 313 today. We need to have a serious discussion. We need to put in this future bet. Aiden Hutchinson to win Defensive Player of the Year, 14-1. Lions are sitting at 4-1. Per the website Tankathon, they have the second easiest schedule remaining. If they finish as one of the 2 top seeds in the NFC, which is possible based on the schedule they have remaining, and the Eagles and 49ers, based on Tankathon, their schedules remaining are 2 of the 10 hardest. So if the Lions can finish with 14-3, 13-4, that type record, someone on that team is going to get recognized for something.
Yes.
And I really feel with how Hutchinson looks, it could be him. Now, if we take a look at the players listed above him, we have Micah Parsons. I think the Cowboys are going to be in a tailspin after what happened on Sunday night. Obviously, no Diggs. The defense doesn't look as good when Diggs is out. They struggle. Next, look, you got my boy. I love the Browns, heavily invested in Browns futures. You have Myles Garrett, who is a beast, but based on optics, if they win 12 games, they win 11 games, and they barely win the North, and they're like a 3 seed, or they make the wild card, and the Lions only lose a couple games and have a bye, I think the optics of the Lions record, the voters will go to Hutchinson instead. And then you have TJ Watt, who's a beast, but I don't think the Steelers are going to make the playoffs. And the last time a defensive player of the year his team didn't make the playoffs was 2014 with JJ Watt. So I don't think TJ Watt, especially he could miss some games with his injury history. I think Hutchinson 14-1 is an absolute steal of a price and something we really need to look to lock in.
And you got to lock it in now because a couple more weeks go by and that team rises to 7-1, 8-1, 9-2, and he keeps playing like he's playing. Those odds will drastically shift immediately.
I think it's a great bet. I think it's something we have to look into. Brandon, takeaway 2, and I'm going to like this takeaway, my friend.
I know you are, and it's Dan Campbell, Coach of the Year. The way the Lions are playing, to your point, I see them finishing minimum 3 in the NFC when the season's over, getting ready for the playoffs. To your point, San Fran, Philly, their schedule, Lions could jump up to 2. But if the Lions do get into the playoffs and keep playing like they're playing, Dan Campbell wins Coach of the Year. Dan effing Campbell, yes, let's make some money, 69. Nobody's talking about it. He's not on the radar. I love the guy. I played at least through a little bit of college. I would have loved to play for a guy like that. He's got his players' backs. When the media's doubting him, he's throwing it right in the media's face. When he loses, he takes accountability, which he's not losing right now. But last year, he took accountability. I love the guy. I love his work ethic. I love the way he treats his players. Dan effing Campbell, Coach of the Year. I don't even know what the odds are. I haven't looked at the odds for it. I don't even know.
Like 4 or 5-1. I think they're like 4 or 5-1.
Well, lock it in now because that is a wrap.
I have to say this. Like, the story I heard is the Lions weren't going to hire him. And Brad Holmes went to Sean Payton and asked Sean Payton, because he worked under Payton at New Orleans. He goes, "Who is this guy?" And the guy goes, "Mike Vrabel, but with an offensive mind." And Brad Holmes is like, "That's good enough for me." And don't give it was sketchy to start, but they got the team the way they want it. Good offensive line. Goff is looking like $1 million. They got some playmakers on the outside. They got a solid tight end, great running game. And now you have Hutchinson, who's a game wrecker on the defensive line. Look, as a Lions fan, this is an unknown, uncharted fucking waters for me. Excuse my language. I don't know what to do right now. You know what I mean? Well, like, I want to get hyped, but I don't know what to do.
I'll tell you what the Lions did that I've seen so many NFL teams screw up with. When they hire a coach, give them a year, it doesn't work. They get rid of him, try and replace. They let him come in there and do what he had to do to build the team to where they are now. And they didn't give up on him. They didn't shit on him. They didn't say he's on the hot seat, nothing. They said, here's your team. Take the time that you need. And he has. And look what they're doing right now. So shout out to your boys, man.
You know what? They're looking.
Thought I'd ever say that, but shit, it is what it is.
You know what? I have no idea. Like, this is an uneasy feeling for me. I have no idea what to do. My takeaway too. I think another future bet we need to lock in is the Ravens not to make the playoffs at plus 210. Teams have identities.
Yes.
What is the Ravens' identity?
Lamar
In years past, they've been known as what? Smash mouth running team, with Jackson being electric, extending plays when needed. What is it this year? Last year, they averaged 180.5 yards passing a game. This year, 189. So it's improved by 8.5 yards per game. Last year, they averaged 159 yards of rushing. This year, 146. Where is this explosive offense that Todd Monken was bringing in? Offense is struggling. Modern NFL, you need to be able to score with how the game is called. The rules in the NFL benefit, obviously, the Kansas City Chiefs from the past 2 weeks, what we've seen against the Jets and the Vikings, but also the offensive players. If you don't have anyone that can generate any offense, move the chains, you're going to struggle. Look at their schedule. Titans, Lions, Cardinals, Seahawks, Browns, Bengals, Chargers, Rams, Jaguars, 49ers, Dolphins, and Steelers. The teams with the 4 lowest winning percentage as of today: Cardinals, insanely well coached. They are coached better than I ever imagined. This guy is doing a great job, and they're proving to be an insanely tough out and will compete like no other. The Rams, who have had a tough schedule, they've had injuries. They've been without Cooper Kupp, and they went toe-to-toe with the 49ers and the Eagles. Yeah. They looked well against them. The Titans, who have my boy Vrabel. That's just enough said. I'm just saying they have Vrabel, and I'm just moving on.
Good. I'm with you.
The Bengals, who have Joe Burrow, who's looking healthy. We saw how good that offense looks. Now, this weekend against Seattle, another great matchup. But we're going to see, do they just take advantage of the Cardinals? Or is this like a good team moving forward? That's not an easy schedule. Offense is struggling. They have a ton of injuries. And I'm getting plus 210 for them not to make the playoffs?
Yeah.
Hello, like this, like Ravens 210 not to make the playoffs. Locked in, man. Locked the fuck in. And that pains me because, you know what? This is the first year I have not bet the Ravens. Now we've reached the part of the show where we're talking bets. We got to look at last week. Last week, Mr. Ice Cold Dave Weaver came in hot. Gave out the Falcons minus the 1.5, minus the 1.5. That's a mistake on the graphic, which hit. Raiders plus the 1.5, which hit. He had the Bills minus 5.5. The old man, Uncle Rico, tough week at the office, had this Bush League team called the Patriots minus 1.5, decided not to show up. Rams plus 4.5. We're in a position, but Eagles made some plays when needed, and we got home the Steelers plus the 4.5. So that's how the show did last week. Brandon, as always, I let the guest go first. Tell me where we're going with your first bet, my friend.
With all your shit talking so far on this podcast, I'm going to rock this out 3 for 3. So we're going to start with my first pick. Dolphins minus 13.5. I never like giving up 2 touchdowns. I don't. It's a lot. It's a lot in the NFL. I don't like doing it. But you're going against the city that I live in and the team that is just horrendous in a dumpster fire. Panthers are 32nd against the defensive run this year, and they're also 29th overall. So I am grabbing the Dolphins at minus 13.5. They are going to get – it's over by halftime. The spread's covered by probably 24 at half, and it'll only extend from there. There's not much to say on this bet. I'm going with a hot team that I have getting a bye going into the playoffs this year against a team that may not even win a football game this year. Minus 13.5 Dolphins, pick number 1.
Dude, that's a lot of points, dude. And you know what? It's funny, like I can't make a case for the Panthers. I was on the Panthers last week plus the 10 against the Lions.
Yeah.
I can't make I can't make a case for the Panthers. To
There
me,
isn't.
this is just kind of stay away, move on. Which Finns player should I use in DFS?
Running back or Tyreek, either one. I'd go with a running back because he's going to be cheaper.
I would go with Mozart.
Yep.
Because A-Chain's probably out. I would go with Mozart.
Yes.
Hill, I don't know. Like, my thing with Hill is
if they get up, they stop throwing the ball.
I know, but he's so much money. You know what I mean? Like, with him being so much money, I don't think he's worth it.
What's your first pick? What you got?
My first bet. Oh God. I'm going like I have quarterbacks I can't stand, and this is one of them. Colts +5. This is the spot of spots. You have the Jaguars who have been in London for 2 weeks, flying back to play. What is their body clock going to be like? There has been 11 times that a team has played overseas in London, then flew back, did not take the bye. And every single game, that team that was in London the week before was losing in the fourth quarter. So with the number and math-wise, this is a good number. Also, you take the whole Jaguars thing, the whole London thing out of it. They just beat the Bills.
Yeah.
One of the best teams in the AFC, in the league. This is a spot you fade them. This is when you fade a young team after a big win. Peterson, 46% ATS as a favorite. As a home favorite, 42%. Lawrence as a favorite struggles, 30% ATS. Also, the strength of the Colts is their front four. With how much the Jaguars have struggled with their offensive line, I think the Colts are going to be able to limit what the Jaguars are going to want to do and be able to get to Lawrence. And when you look back at that game in London, the Jaguars struggled moving the ball until Milano got hurt. Once Milano got hurt, that opened up the running game and allowed Travis Etienne to have a huge game. Also, JT, Jonathan Taylor, is coming back. Second game back. And we need to remember what I always tell you guys, it's not the first game. It's the second game back where these guys get back into shape. We kind of see what they can do and whatnot. I expect him to bounce back, be a bigger part of their offense. I get a divisional dog getting 5 in the spot of spots, 4 or higher. Dude, give me the Colts. And I hate Gardner Minshew and his long hair and his jean shorts, but I got to do it. I got to effing do it.
Well, I have the lock of the week. Lock of the week. Eagles minus less than a touchdown against the New York Jets. Hurts is 67% against the spread at home. Now they're at the Jets. To me, that's a home game. The crowd doesn't stand a chance. Like, tell me real quick, when you see 6.5 Eagles, Jets, no matter where it's being played, why? Why aren't they sitting 9? Why aren't they sitting 10?
I think it's just respect for the defense.
But where's the respect going? To the Jets who just beat Denver?
I think it's just respect for the defense. I think people think this defense is like all world.
But again, no matter how good the defense is, if they're on the field the whole game, they're not going to stop. You talk about, let's say they hold the Eagles to 3 field goals. They're up 9-0 because the Jets can't score an offense. So it's not one of those things where you're playing. I watch a lot of New England games in this way to where they'll let a team drive, kick a field goal, but then they're going down and matching it. At least they used to. They'd go down and match it. That's not going to happen with the Jets. You're not getting field goal matches. You're not getting points on the board. You got to hope for pick sixes, turnovers at half the field to let Zach Wilson get 20 yards and put 3 up. Like, it's not happening with the Jets, period. They beat Denver. What is Denver? Nothing. Absolutely. Peyton, please don't ever coach again after this. You've ruined your legacy if you even had one. Excuse me. That's another But 6.5 Eagles against the Jets. I don't care where it's being played. I don't. Zach Wilson, MILF Hunter.
Yeah,
You saw that shirt, right?
I thought it was pretty funny.
Who said that? Sports Facts.
I thought it was pretty funny.
Put it in the chat. I'm not saying it. Put it in the chat if you've seen that Zach Wilson shirt.
What was I gonna say?
For real, Uncle Rico, 6.5.
That's a lot. And like Jets have offensive line injuries. We don't know what's going on with Sauce Gardner.
Yes.
Like, I will say this though. So I heard someone make this analogy that the Eagles right now don't get pissed off for this comment.
Here we go.
Kind of have that vibe of the Patriots. Just kind of just solid, not effing up, just going like, I don't want to say going through the motions, but taking it business, kind of limiting stuff, keeping it very generic. You know what I mean? Like during that run they had with Brady.
But when you're winning early on, you can do that. I don't need to show a bunch of stuff. I don't gotta look fancy. I don't gotta play a guy every quarter, every snap. I can kind of do what I want to do because I know I can win the game, and then I'll save that for when I actually need it.
And it looks like we're going to lose the Jacksonville State. Hard to win a bet when you get down to your third string quarterback. My next bet, and God damn it, I got to do it. I'm taking the Browns +6. Now, this is really important. You guys have to listen to this. If Watson isn't going to play, I'm buying out of this position. But I feel he's going to play. Teams that have played on Sunday Night Football on the West Coast, then the next game, they play an East Coast game at 1 o'clock, 47% ATS. Teams that are 5-0 straight up and are road favorites in week 6 are 43% ATS. 49ers are legit. I do my power rankings. Right now, they are the best team I have. They are on top. But I think this is the week to fade them. Yes, I know the line will move if Watson isn't a go, but I think that him sitting out the game before the bye, I think this is just a great spot. The Browns have the best defensive line in the league. I think they're going to be able to get home versus Purdy. And when you look at the whole 49ers offense, and it's a great offense, the weakness isn't the tight end position. You have Kittle.
No.
It's not the running back position. You have CMC. It's not the wide receiver position. You have Juwan Jennings, Debo, and Brandon Ayuk. It's not the quarterback. Purdy's look good. Purdy's 7-1 right now to win the MVP.
Yeah.
It's not him. It's the offensive line. I think Garrett and crew is going to be able to get home versus Brock Purdy. Important to know. I feel that 6 is too much. Like I said, if Watson doesn't play, I'm going to buy out of this position, but I think he's going to play. And when it's announced he's playing, it's going to dip down. Browns have a good offensive line. I think they're going to be able to protect Watson, limit the exposure he's going to have to Bosa and crew. I just like the matchup in the trenches for the Browns. I think this is a great spot to get the Browns coming off the bye. 49ers coming off a big game, big win over the rivals, the Cowboys. I'll take the Browns here +6.
All right. I'm not going with a pick. I'm going with the over. I'm not a big fan of over-unders much, but I'm going to read some numbers off. The two teams that I'm picking, one team, their last 2 games, granted who they played, 40, 30, then scored 16, then 38, and then 10 in week 1. The other team they're playing, 24 points, 28 points, 24 points, 34 points, 23 points. I'm going with the over 48.5 in the Cowboys-Chargers game. I think it's going to be a sling fest. With Diggs being out, you're going to see the Chargers be able to move the ball passing. Cowboys will move the ball passing regardless just because they figure that shit out all the time. I love 48.5 over Cowboys-Chargers just based on the offenses. Take the defenses completely out of it. They're just going to be gunning for each other. I love 48.5. I don't have a whole lot to say. I know that sounds weird handing out a bet because I'm not big on over-unders, but something speaking to me with these two teams and their offenses and the couple key guys on defenses that's missing, I like 48.5. I do.
I haven't seen the shirt. Eckler's allegedly coming back. I just think you look at the Cowboys splits with no Diggs. Defense isn't that much. Parsons a little bit banged up.
Yep.
And I heard something. And this guy, I talked to this guy, made a great case, made a phenomenal case. Dak Prescott's done. He's done. He just said, look, he goes, what do you say? He goes, the Cowboys are basically in the I think he said Daniel Jones, the Daniel Jones era. He goes, but they're just a little bit better. He goes, he was found from nothing, took the team as far as he can. Now he wants that big contract. And when that big contract comes, what happens? Less playmakers are around you, less studs are around you. You don't get those good players, more values put on your draft, and the quality of your team goes down. I think we're going to start seeing that happen in Dallas because they're going to have to start paying him pretty soon. I think we're going to see them take a step back. But I kind of like that one. Chargers getting Eckler back, like I said. Defense struggles with no Diggs. Last bet. You know what? This line has been bouncing. It's been bouncing. We've seen the 3, 3.5, 4. I got 3.5. I'm going back to my roots. Give me the Titans plus 3.5. The weakness of the Titans defense is defending the pass, and Jackson has struggled this year. Bottom third in the league, throwing to the outside hashes. As I mentioned before, this offense is only averaging 9 yards more per game. Where is this potent offensive attack everyone was telling me about? Lamar Jackson as a favorite, only 44% ATS. Vrabel as a dog, 61.9% ATS. In non-home games, so road or neutral games, that number dips a little bit, dips down to 60%, 2% dip. Vrabel, when getting 3 points or more, is 23, 10, and 1. That is 69.7% ATS. Titans are starting to get healthy. Ravens are starting to get banged up. The Ravens have no identity. Like I said, we know what this Titans team is. Smash mouth with Derrick Henry. Offensive line starting to get healthy. Use the rush game with Henry to set up the play action pass. Tannehill looked better against the Colts. I think that's going to continue. I'll take the Titans in the bounce pad spot. Plus, look, I'm playing my boy Vrabel as a dog. Give me the Titans here plus the 3.5. One shot, but looks like I got up for the 4, so I even like that a little bit more. That's a London game, my friend. Little pancakes and football to start off your weekend, dude.
I'm enjoying that.
Do you like those London games? Because I'll tell you what, I'm a man of routine. I know that's probably going to shock most people, and it just kind of throws off my routine on Sunday.
I like it when my team's not playing in it. Because if I do get up, hit the gym early, 7, 8 o'clock in the morning, come home, to your point, throw some breakfast on, you got a football game in the background. If you got a bet on it, great. If you don't, it's just something going on. It kicks off football, kind of fills that gap because most of these pregame countdowns are terrible. And you have a bunch of people on the desk that truly don't know football and reading off a teleprompter. So I kind of enjoy it at times.
I do too. I mean, especially when I bet that I'm watching wins. Brandon, I'd like to thank you for coming on, taking time out of your busy schedule. Why don't you tell everyone where they can find you on social media and when your next iRace is, my friend?
Excuse me, guys. Under the weather. Boston Boy 83, Instagram, Twitch, Twitter. We are at Las Vegas tomorrow night, 9 o'clock. I will tweet out and Instagram out the broadcast. I know you'll share it. Finished second last week. Not going for any championship because we joined the series late. So just trying to grab some trophies and break some hearts. But give me a follow, give me a like, give me a comment. Anything helps. So I'd appreciate it. And since football's so bad, hockey season starts tonight. You know me being a big U fan, that killed me on Saturday. And to watch the Pats on Sunday. I'm just so glad hockey's here. As big Bill Belichick would say, we're on to the NHL.
Let me ask you this. How did you feel about that Miami play? Brandon's a big Miami fan, like he said. How did you feel about that?
Terrible.
Do you think Mario should be fired? No,
not fired. I'll be honest, guys. I was at the Xfinity NASCAR race. Had one too many alcoholic beverages. came home, fell asleep, woke up with 50 seconds left, and watched it happen. I just don't know what goes through anybody's head. You take a knee, the game's over. It's not like there's a timeout or you got to run. You got to run a couple seconds off. You just take the knee and the game's over. And you didn't. So we're going to come up to UNC. Yeah, hungover, not sick. Good call, Bobby. We're going to come up to UNC this week and beat the brakes off of them. You watch. I don't care what the spread is. You guys grab Miami and you grab them quick. You grab them early because they are.
Was at 4 down to 3.5. I have that game circled too, hoping for it to get back to a 4. Sports facts, any NHL futures. You know what? I have to admit, I only did 2 of them. One of them you are going to absolutely hate.
The Bruins not making the playoffs.
Plus 235.
You're serious?
Yeah.
Bro, just kick me when I'm down. It's cool. It's
and
cool.
I did the Red Wings. I did the Red Wings to make the playoffs at plus 225. Those are my 2 NHL futures. Those are the only ones that I did. I think the Red Wings could make some noise. I need to dive into that. Maybe I'll get something over the weekend. If I do, I'll make sure I tweet it out or have it here.
No futures, but grab the overs here in the next couple of days. First game ended 5-3. I just watched the Blackhawks down 1-0. Now they're up 3-2 against Pittsburgh. Grab the overs early, guys. There's going to be a lot of shots on goal, a lot of goals early. Grab your overs while you got them.
That's a good point. Make sure to give my boy Brandon a follow at BostonBoy83. We're going to be back here next week. Bryce from I Need a Sports podcast is next week's special guest. Make sure to check that out. Best of luck if you tail our bets, and let's make some money and let's go Lions, baby.
Appreciate everybody. Uncle Rico, as always, pleasure having me on. I appreciate it.
Thanks for coming on, man. No, you're not 100%. We'll see you next week, guys.